So we're going to try something a little bit different tonight. Welcome, Billy. Glad to see you. We are going to be doing some spaces on topics that are interesting to writers. And tonight we thought we would start with the big one, making money from your writing. So thank you for joining us this evening. And we are going to start with an introduction from each of us, myself and Kristy and Graciella, telling you a little bit about where we are in our writing journey and what we have done. And then we will jump into some questions. And this is going to be wide open. People can jump in anytime. So feel free to join the discussion by raising your hand. So those of you who are here right now know me, and you know a bit about my story, that I entered a writing contest and won first place. And then why I write for several reasons. I do journal, and that is writing for myself to get my thoughts out. I have a gratitude journal that I write in almost every day. I also have another journal that I write in when I have my quiet time and read my Bible. And then besides that, I also write mostly to help people learn to do different things associated with writing. And as you know, my first book was called Learn Twitter. And I have also written a devotional book and a book called Write from First Draft to, or from book idea to first draft in 30 days. So that's a little bit about me. Kristy, why don't you go ahead and share about your writing journey?
Thank you, Ruth. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Graciella, Billy. Basically, I started writing when I was in high school, just kind of goofing off with friends and making silly little stories because we had nothing better to do. We thought we were too cool for actual school. So I started writing and, messing around that way. But as an adult, I started journaling a lot and everything. It was a easy way for me to get my emotions out when things were pretty tough. I was a caregiver to my dad who had cancer, and the kids had autism, and my husband was over the road as a trucker, so I didn't have a lot of people to talk to. And I started journaling. And as you guys know, one day my son came in and asked me to start doing it professionally. I told him, no, I'm not very good at that. But then he looked at me and said, if you could give up on your dream, I guess I can give up on mine. And I wasn't going to let that happen. And so I started writing. I put out my first book. It's a little rookie book called 9 Months to Autism. And then from there, that started selling. So I started another book, which was Lady for Hire. And that one started selling. And I just fell in love with the industry. I fell in love with the challenge of what can I come up with next. And then I decided to start advocating for causes that are super important to me, like autism awareness, cancer awareness, in my books. My characters they deal with those everyday issues. Some of them have cancer, some of them have to deal with autism, some of them deal with drug and alcohol addiction. It just depends on the book. But that's how I pretty much got started. And Graciella, how about you?
Well, good evening, everybody. Hello, Ruth and Kristy and Billy and Sean. Welcome to the space. So much like Kristy, I've been writing pretty much my whole life. Poetry, that's how it started. And I remember winning a writing contest when I was in fifth grade in school. I remember it had to do with some composition about Christopher Columbus, and that's really all I remember. And so that was my first, what's the word? Sorry, I'm trying to appease the toddler over here. That was my first taste at like me writing for other people outside of my, childhood writing, which was pretty much all related to learning a language. So I have memories of me with a Romeo and Juliet Shakespeare book, which I could not read or understand, right? Because it's freaking Shakespeare. And me kind of instinctively knowing that if I wrote with my hand, word for word, I would learn English. And so I remember transcribing all of Romeo and Juliet to loose leaf paper. And I was literally like in fifth or fourth grade. What? So that was me. And then my poetry really evolved as I was an English major. All through high school, I got paid by what do we call it? I used to do other people's homeworks and get paid for it, like in English. So my friends never had to write an essay. And that's really how I started.
Thank you for sharing your stories. That's great. And welcome to Sean. Good to have you in the space this evening. And I see your message that you're laying low and listening tonight. So that's fine. We're happy to have you in the space with us. So the first question that we are going to talk about is there anything you wish you had known before you started writing for publication? And I'll answer this question first. And then after this, the next question, I'm going to pick on somebody else before I answer. So I'll answer, and then I will pass on to Graciella, and then Kristy can answer as well. So what I wish I had known before I started writing for publication was a little bit more about marketing. And that's one thing that I really stress with the clients that I work with. When I first published a book, I published with a traditional publisher, and my book, it was an anthology. I contributed a 10,000 word story to the anthology, and it was a Christmas anthology. And what he did was he had us each publish our stories as a mini ebook, and then he collated it into a book that was published. And my ebook hit number one on Amazon. And so I was really excited about that. And so I'm trying to read messages as I'm talking here. Thanks for being with us, Graciella and Kristy. You're both working with challenging circumstances tonight. So feel free to let us know if you can't answer a question or if you need to leave. Anyway, so although my ebook did hit number one on Amazon, after the anthology was published, I ended up with copies sitting in a box that did not sell because I really didn't know anything about marketing. And so now I encourage all my clients to do that marketing research before they write their book to find out what people are wanting. And I also encourage them to think about ideas that will work for them when they want to sell copies of their book in a way that is not pushy or salesy, but in a way that connects with their readers and allows them to buy the book when they want to. So that would be my answer to the question. I don't know, Graciella, are you available right now to answer what you wish you had known before you started publishing? If not, Kristy, are you available?
I am at this moment in time. Yes, everyone, just to kind of clarify, my daughter's having some meltdowns tonight. She's a little sick tonight, so I may be in and out of the space. But for now, I'm available to answer the question. Thank you, Ruth. What I wish I would have known before I started publishing was how challenging it is to build your platform, how challenging it is to schedule your time, and how to, and this is going to sound funny, and I don't mean it to come out the way it's probably going to sound, how to handle the newfound popularity, because it is very, very exhausting. Very, very exhausting. And Ruth, if you have any tips for that, I would deeply appreciate them. So I'm going to pass back to you until, or no, Graciella's hand is up. Graciella, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily what I wish I knew before publishing, but what I wish I knew before launching a business, because I'm going to correlate it to that, right? When you launch your book or you publish your book, then now you have to market it. And I just wish I had been given previous just like a fair warning as to how time consuming it is, just like Kristy kind of was just implying, scheduling it all. And honestly, whether you have a publisher or you are self-published, your your business will really depend on your presence. And whether it's physical or online, I feel like it's all physical. Like my online presence demands that I physically do work, or that I physically do this and that. And so, fair warning that when you're an entrepreneur, the only way to grow internationally is to be in the world wide web, and then the implications that come with that. I feel like we don't speak about that enough. And it's like Rachel was mentioning earlier in her book marketing chat, unless you are that needle in the haystack that goes into New York Times, best-selling lists, and you're all of a sudden on TV and people know where to find you automatically because they saw you in Good Morning America, which could be seen as, that quote unquote overnight success because you put your book out today and then 1 month from now you're in Good Morning America. Then you have to show up every single day for however long it takes. And there's no fair warning about that. And that's not just for publishing. That's for every single thing if you're running a business with an online presence. So I correlate it to my coaching. I correlate it to every single thing I do.
Thanks for that, Graciella. It's true. It is a lot of hard work, and most of us are not prepared for the work that marketing is. And Billy, I don't know if you have any tips on how to lighten that load. I have learned a few ways to make it a little easier, and that is to reuse content. So I will record a podcast and I will use pieces of that in my content, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. I will use the content in a blog post, and so that I'm not always creating different pieces of content. And that does make it a little easier, but it's still a lot of work, and it's not always easy. Kristy, you were asking about what to do with sudden popularity. Could you clarify? I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at. Are you talking about how busy you are, or how many people are approaching you and not always appropriately? Could you tell us a little bit more what you're asking?
Sure, it's actually a kind of mix of both. The more your name gets out there and the more people start to recognize your face and your name, it's all of a sudden you are extremely busy. Like all week long, I'm in audio sessions this week, whether it be Twitter Spaces or Clubhouse, or whether it be podcasting or something. I am in audio all week long. If it's not that, then I'm asked, okay, hey, do you want to do a book signing? Hey, do you want to come over here and do a sponsorship experience, excuse me, appearance? Do you want to do this? Do you need this? Can we do that? It's like your calendar is constantly filling up. And so you're constantly busy. And sometimes you just feel like there's no breathing room. There's no time for you. And then even going to the local pizza parlor, it's like, hey, you're the one that wrote Lady for Hire. Can we talk to you for a minute? What was that about? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, where's my private time? Where's my time? And I never knew that was going to happen. So how do you guys handle the sudden busyness, the sudden people recognizing you where you go? Like, how do you handle it?
That's an interesting question, and I'm kind of laughing to myself. It's funny, but not funny. I guess you're experiencing what a lot of more famous people experience all the time, and I think sometimes people forget that we need our personal space. So I guess what I would recommend is decide what you want your life to look like, and then set boundaries so that that is what you get to enjoy. If you only want to do speaking engagements like social audio, if you only want to do in-person events, or if you decide, think about your strategy. Why are you doing everything that you're doing? And what kind of return are you getting for what you're doing? So if you're on social audio every day, but your audience is not growing, or you're not making more sales, you have to, when I talk about return on investment, you need to think about what your goal is. So is your goal to make money? Is it to grow your audience? Is it to make more sales? What is your goal? So you need to set goals, and be strategic about how you go about reaching those goals, and try things and see what works, and then stop doing what doesn't work. So one of the things that I thought I would do this year was go live every morning at 8 a.m. on 5 different, so Monday I was going on Facebook, Tuesday I was going on Wisdom, Wednesday I was going on Fireside, Thursday I was going on Clubhouse, and Friday I was going on Twitter Spaces. And I did it for a couple of weeks, and I decided it was too much for me. And so I looked at what I enjoyed the most and where I was getting the most interaction. And then I picked the two that are working at that time. I'm not saying that the other platforms wouldn't work for me, but at 8 o'clock my time, the two where I was getting responses were Facebook and Fireside. And so those are the two that I'm going to spend time on, because I'm getting return for my investment. I don't know. Does that help, Kristy?
It does to a sense. Like, in reality and in all honesty, I am gaining what I set out to do. I wanted to become a world known author. I wanted to be known to the public, and I wanted to leave something for my children to be proud of me for. So I am accomplishing what I want. I guess I just needed 5 minutes to whine because it's a little more tiring than I thought it would be. But I am accomplishing what I set out to accomplish. So that does help. It is very helpful to have goals set in mind.
Isn't it funny how we make goals, and then when we achieve them, sometimes we're like, oh, that's not quite what I was expecting.
Absolutely, because let me tell you, it does get tiring, but in the long run, it actually is very rewarding too. And to see the pride on my children's faces is wonderful to me. My son didn't think I was going to go all the way through, and I'm proving him wrong. And that's something I enjoy, is like, okay, son, I'm doing my part. Now you need to get back out there and accomplish your dream. So yeah, it's very rewarding, just very, very tiring at the same time.
Right on. Okay. So I'm going to throw out another question. Oh, Billy, I don't know if you have anything to add to the discussion about marketing. Feel free to let us know if you do. You can raise your hand. And if anybody else wants to jump in, feel free to do that as well. Other people I know have experience with writing and publishing, especially Angel. So I don't know if you want to join the conversation or if you just want to listen. You're welcome to do either or both. We're just happy to have you with us this evening. So the next question I'm going to throw out, and Graciella, I'm going to get you to tackle this one first. What fears have you had to overcome in order to make money with your writing?
Oh my gosh, all the fears. I mean, when it comes to selling my writing, or see, the thing is, I do a lot of copywriting as well, and I consider my writing copywriting because every single caption that I write on my, strategic posting on Instagram, which is where I get most of my clients from, my coaching clients, I, of course, that it's copywriting that turns into money, right? So I'm thinking about that. And one of the most important fears, and I think this comes a lot with being highly sensitive as well, is being misunderstood. Like, I'm going to put this writing, I'm going to put this caption out there. Are people going to get it? Am I being clear enough? Is my message coming across? Because if my posts, if my conversion rate, let's call it that, if my conversion rate is low or it lowers, then that's the first thing I look at. If my conversion is coming from Instagram, for example, where is the disconnect between me not booking clients and people reading what I am putting out there and really, picking up what I'm putting down, right? And then aside from that fear of being misunderstood, which I think every writer can understand, I go through all of the fears. It's like the fear of failure or the fear of, honestly, the fear of coming up with such a brilliant idea and then realizing that it wasn't my idea to begin with. Like, it's already been written, it's already been out there. Like, do you know how many books about hope are out there? Or how many people talk and do content around the moon every single day? Like, so that's always a fear in the sense of, the what will other people say, but at the same time, am I gonna, stop myself from creating or stop myself from putting my message out there? Or, am I gonna stop myself from doing what I want to do because of the fear of someone else lashing out? Like, that if they lash out, it's not my problem, right? So I go through all of that to say I go through all of the motions that we normally go through. It's not oh, now that I'm published or now that I am quote unquote a successful coach, because I do have a conversion rate, right? And I've been coaching for over a year. I don't have any fear. That's just not very realistic.
Thanks for sharing, Graciella. Yes, imposter syndrome, fear, and we have to push past that, right? And I think it's interesting because sometimes we think that we're the only ones that struggle with it. But when you talk to creatives and authors and musicians and others, most people who are creatives and really care about what they're doing face that imposter syndrome, at least from time to time. Some of us face it more often than others. And I like the saying, do it afraid. If you have a message to share, push past that fear and share anyway. Kristy, what do you have to add to this discussion?
At this moment in time, I'd like to go ahead and pass it over to someone else. I have something going in the background really quick. You guys know what's up.
All right. Thanks for letting us know, Kristy. All right. So what fears did I have to overcome in order to make money with my writing? I would say very similar fears to what Graciella was talking about, especially the fear of failure. When I was growing up, I was told that I should not attempt anything that I couldn't succeed at. And it was really scary for me when I started writing and putting my baby out there in the world for everyone to meet and criticize as they felt fit. It was really, I wasn't sure if I was good enough. I was afraid that I would fail, but I've come to realize that failure is not permanent unless I stop trying. So I've also realized that failure can be a really good teacher, and so I don't need to fear failure. Does that mean I don't fear it anymore? No, it means that I just push past it. I see that you're ready to share now, Kristy, so go ahead.
Yes, sorry about that, everyone. Again, my daughter is sick, and I do apologize. I have to agree with you. The fear of failure, I think, gets to everyone. And that's one of my biggest fears every single day, is the fear of not accomplishing my dream, not showing my son that his dreams can be accomplished too. Or truthfully, I am the worst person with grammar. I am so not well with grammar. And sometimes I can't always afford an editor, especially when the more words you have, the higher priced an editor can be. So the fear of getting the backlash of a book that's not properly edited sometimes, or there's so many fears that go through a writer's head that you can't help but to have that fear all the way in your stomach. And every single day you fight with it, no matter how well you may be doing or how well your name is getting out there, there's always something you're afraid of. But like Ruth said, do it afraid, because it really will push you to work harder and better than you have before.
Thanks, Kristy. And while you're still able to talk, do you want to address community and how important it is for authors?
Absolutely. I think community is one of the most important things because building your tribe, building your community, having people that have your back is a wonderful way to learn and grow. Without Ruth, without Graciella, without Billy, without Sean, without Angel, without all of you, I wouldn't be trying to make myself better. And through helping me, I want to help you guys back. And so it's like a give and take. And then the more that you're helping others, the more they're helping you, and the more your brand is growing. So community is very important. Plus, a lot of us have grown really close outside of our profession. Ruth, you and I sit here and we talk about our children, and Graciella and I talk about our children and different stresses, and we're able to bounce ideas off each other. Without that, I think a lot of us would have a hard time growing in our profession and growing comfortable with the way things have gotten into our lives. So it's community is very, very important. And all of you, I give a really big shout out to, especially in this room, Ruth, Graciella, Billy, and Sean. Sean is a big motivator to me sometimes. I don't know if he realizes that, but some of his posts really do motivate me. So thank all of you for being a part of my tribe.
Thanks, Kristy. Graciella, what do you
So
have to share about community?
I do know that Billy has the mic. I wanted to check in on him first. Billy, would you like to contribute something? Maybe not. Somebody over here is asking for a sandwich, which for him means one plain slice of bread. You know, that's a sandwich. So I feel like community for writers. Oh, there you are, Billy. Hi.
Yeah, first of all, in regard to making your marketing easier, there's a couple of tools. One of which I use is called Buffer. And especially with Twitter, what I do with Buffer is roughly a week ahead of time, especially after I've just posted a podcast. I will create a post for that and then create numerous other posts and spread them out through the week for that podcast. Then I will also go back and um, take other key posts and post them again. A lot of times, I think one of the mistakes that podcasters make is they forget about their previous episodes. And your library is, as much as anything else, very important to the listeners that you are bringing on new. So I'm always tossing out some of the better episodes, and I put them here again. I space them out through the days and the week, and that is not a substitute for interacting on Twitter. So, and I say that because I work around a lot of marketing people, and they schedule these posts out, and they never even look at their Twitter accounts or their LinkedIn accounts or their anything else in terms of what these posts are doing. What this does do for me is because of the fact that I have the calendar right in front of me, I can space things out logically, making sure they're not posted too close together, et cetera, get all that done. All the detailed information I can sit and put in. So all of that is scheduled and it's done correctly. So all I have to do through the course of a week is what we do called social listening. And that is, retweet other people. When people do interact with the content that is going out there, I make sure and I respond to that. I either return a retweet or if somebody has made a comment, I make sure that I answer it. And that's all I have to do through the course of the week is just maintain the activity that's being generated. So that really works well for me anyway. In regard to what Kristy was saying about the attention you'll get, I'm still pretty well known in the area, but back in the 1990s, in that area in particular, I was somewhat of a half-assed celebrity with the disc jockeying and working with bands and all of these other things. And I got to tell you, it's very hard to set boundaries because things that would happen to you, whether you're being approached in bathrooms, whether you're being approached, out at that time, Fridays was very popular. I would be out with friends, you know, at a table, not meaning to interact with anybody. Most of the time, the interactions that I got were very positive. There were a few times when somebody would say something crappy to me, and why they felt that they had the right to just say something to me because they recognized me as, I couldn't tell you that. I had a real several bizarre stalker type situations where people wouldn't stay away from me, and that those are things that I'm not sure what goes on in the psyche of people, but I can certainly understand why the Brad Pitts of the world and the Tom Cruises of the world have to have security around them, because obviously they get a lot more attention than I ever did. But I can tell you that there was a time when I was out in public, especially when I was in a crowd where people knew who I was. I always watched my back, always make sure when I went to a new venue, I knew who the bouncers were, I knew who other people were around me if I did get into a bind. And unfortunately, like I said, I don't know that there's really a good way to set a boundary other than just to be alert. So anyway, I don't know if that helps, but that's kind of where that is.
Thank you, Billy. So far, it's been positive interactions, people just giving me compliments about the book or anything like that. But again, it gets tiring. And then I was telling you guys last night in our space before it fell down on us, how I had one bad hair day and a guy commented on it, and it was a feeling of embarrassment almost. So it's like you have no privacy anymore. It's to the point, like, I'm no celebrity by far, I'm not even close to that, but my name is getting attention, and it's starting to like I said, it gets exhausting. So thank you for your advice, Billy. And thank you, Ruth and Graciella, for allowing us to speak.
Yeah, and I feel like earlier you took the words right out of my mouth when you were telling Kristy about boundaries, because I feel like that's really, oh my gosh, Elijah, you want another one? Um, I feel like without boundaries, I wouldn't be able to do anything. And so it's a question of where do I draw the line, right? And the line for that would have been, like for that, what's the word? Example that you just brought up, Kristy, of somebody commenting on your hair out of nowhere. The line would have been, whatever, I'm actually just going to delete your comment or whatever. I think here you can just take the comment, like hide it or something like that. You can't really delete someone else's comment. I think that's how it's done. On Instagram, you can just delete someone else's comment, right? But, that's a boundary. And committing to that sort of boundary just gives you peace of mind in the future when it happens again. It's like, oh, this is my go-to boundary. I'm not even going to sweat it. And so I think that's what helped me. And honestly, community is everything if you are in any types of sales. It's not just books or writing. Selling is a people business, because if you don't build relationships, people don't trust you enough, and they couldn't care less about your product. And this is something that I learned, through selling Avon at 19, and then selling other products, and then the MLMs, and selling makeup, and then real estate. And now I sell, my own product by, focusing on my coaching and in my writing and in my books. And so if you don't build relationships, if I don't build relationships, who's going to read my sample work? Right? If I don't have a relationship with Ruth or Kristy, how could I even knock on their DM and be like, hey, would you care to read a sample of my chapter? Like, honestly, without a relationship, I wouldn't dare do that. I'm sure there's people who couldn't care about it, but I feel like without a relationship, I wouldn't dare ask someone for their opinion, because why should I care about your opinion if we're not even friends, right? And so there's a lot to say about community. And then when it comes to my community here on Twitter, it's so the Empaths Unite thing that I have going on is really all about my coaching, right? Because as a niche, I really want to help people that are highly sensitive empaths, intuitive empaths, and that line of neurodivergence. And that's a personal choice. Whether they care about hope or not, that's a totally different conversation for me. Of course, I do know, as the person coaching through hope and writing about hope, that hope applies to everyone, right? But at the same time, my own community here on Twitter is very geared towards building that trust to coach people and not necessarily gaining readers or, just followers. So that's a different, leg of what I do. But in the end, again, because it's relationships, it's all about me. And whatever I offer, I want people to buy, right? So in the end, I'm selling my own persona, myself, and what I have to offer, regardless of what that is.
Those are, oh, sorry, Ruth. I just want to reply back to Graciella really fast. Those are awesome comments. And as far as the deleting the comment on Twitter or Instagram or anything like that, absolutely. That's one of my boundaries there. If I don't like the comment, I can always delete it. However, what the instance that I'm talking about happened in person. And what it was I wasn't feeling good one day. I'm just running around the house in my pajamas and I had messy hair and I was wearing pink fuzzy unicorn slippers. Like I looked a mess. It was quite funny, but I didn't feel well. And I wasn't expecting anyone to come to the house or anything like that, but the doorbell rang and I went to the door and it was an insurance salesman. And after a few minutes, he's all, haven't I seen you on a podcast? Don't you write books? And I was like, oh yeah, hi, my name is Kristy Mickelson, blah, blah, blah. And he's all, man, you look different on camera. And he said it so sarcastically that it made me embarrassed about my appearance. It was like, wow, we're not allowed to have a bad hair day, because usually when I go out, knowing that I'm going out in public, I tend to put on a little makeup, I'm wearing better clothes, obviously, the whole nine, because I want my persona, to remain professional no matter where I go. But around my house, I wasn't even allowed to have a bad hair day. So it was kind of insulting and embarrassing at the same time.
Well, I'm just going to be quite honest and say, you all, if you ever see me at the store or at the park with my toddler, you're not going to see the pretty face that you see on the screen right now. Okay? I'm going to be completely incognito under a hat with no makeup, possibly wearing pajamas, and possibly wearing socks with like some kinds of slip-ons, because in Puerto Rico, everybody is so uptight about what you wear when you go out. And one of the wonderful things I love about moving to America and moving to the United States is that nobody cares, especially my husband. He's like, yeah, you look fine. Let's just go. Let's just go to the park or run the errand. And so, yeah, I'm so sorry that happened to you. But, keeping it real is part of it. Like, I honestly would have made a post about it, and a post about how you are entitled to all of these things.
Thank you, Graciella. One day I just might make a post like that. In fact, I actually did recently. I put a post up on Twitter about who I am. Really, I am in person. I am short. I am 4'10". I am 45 pounds overweight. I'm 182 pounds. I am sick with autoimmune disease. I have a harder time exercising. My face looks good due to filters when I put pictures up. Because that's part of my author persona. But in person, expect a short, overweight lady who is quite happy in her life otherwise. So I actually put a picture up of me in my everyday self, overweight, the whole nine, with my buddy Axel, who's actually lifting me up, everything. And Simon Hodgkins actually commented on that on our podcast for the global discussion. He thought it was a really great body positivity thing to post. So at least I'm getting it out there that don't expect me to be all pretty all the time. So it was a good experience. And back to you, Ruth.
Well done, Kristy. Yes, I'm so sorry that happened to you in your own home, because I think our homes need to be our sanctuary. And shame on that salesman. I mean, he didn't make an appointment. He showed up unexpectedly. And yeah, he needs to be reprimanded or something. I don't know. All right. Community. Why is it important to authors? You ladies have mentioned several things. Kristy was talking about how it's wonderful to just have people that we can talk about everyday life with, like having bad hair days, or struggling with our kids some days. Those are wonderful things to be able to do with people in our community. Graciella mentioned beta readers, people who have the first read through of something that we're working on and are able to give us good feedback so that we are able to make adjustments and changes that will be helpful in our manuscript. I would include also, it's really, really important to have a community, especially when you're launching your first book and every book after that. As individuals, we only have a certain reach. And when we invite people into our community and they are willing to help us launch our products, we are able to multiply our reach. And that's what we want to do. We want to get our book, our writing into other people's hands. And so community is very, very important then. And affiliate marketing is one way of doing that, reaching out to people who may have a larger audience or the same size audience as you. Maybe it's somebody that writes in the same genre as you, but they have a different list of readers than you have. Allowing them to have some of the income that comes in from your marketing because they share with their list is a great way to grow your audience. So there's many ways that community is helpful when you're an author.
Billy always has good input about how authors can get out there a little more. I would like to hear how he feels about the community, and should authors get more into their group that is not just authors, but like musicians and podcasters. Like, who do you think goes well into our community? Like, should we have more than just readers and other authors? And I'll let Graciella go, and then Billy, if you would answer that, that would be awesome.
Absolutely. Any type of community that you are in as a creator, as long as you're contributing to that community, you're probably going to get something good back. As a podcaster, because of the fact that for a period of years there, I was getting approached, and I still am getting approached um, by publishers to interview their authors. That's originally where my connection to authors began, and it kind of took off and got a life of its own. And that, of course, like you mentioned, musicians and also people who have a cause. These are all great things to different groups to get involved with, because if you interact with them, you are going to raise each other up and your visibility is going to rise. And also, too, you have a greater awareness of other things that are maybe impacting your writing or whatever it is that you do. So I think that part of it is very important. Now you can't belong to every single one, but it's very much worth your time to carve some time out and make sure that you are getting involved in different types of groups online. And also, I would encourage ones in person. I belong to several ones here in Ohio, and a lot of these groups don't have anything to do with podcasting per se, but because of the fact that, here again, when you network like that, you're bound to learn a lot of things. And then obviously you're going to be connected with people when they do have a need. They're going to want to do business with, the old adage, with people they know, like, and trust. I can tell you too that you have to approach these. This is very important, because I've gotten incorrect feedback all the time on this. There's been certain groups come up. People ask me, "Is this group good or whatever?" And I say, "Yes, it is." Blah blah blah. And I'll run into them a couple of weeks later, and they'll say, "Well, I went to this group that you were talking about, and I didn't get nothing out of it." That is the wrong attitude. I don't know what you expect, and speaking about them, that you're going to get out of it. If they're going to be holding, prizes for showing up, or what. The idea that you treat these groups as a place to, fishbowl targets for your sales pitch. That's not the way these work. You have to invest some time, go repeatedly, get recognized, get known, get liked, trusted. And at that point, that's when the benefits start to pay off. It's not an instant thing. You have to be a thought leader in these groups. You have to be someone that people want to be around. You have to be someone that is not handing out their business card, because that's going to turn you into the person that people are going to try to avoid. So you really have to make an effort to be a leader in all of the groups that you get involved with and contribute to those groups. So that's the best input I can give you on that.
Thank you, Billy. The reason why I kind of asked that question is I sponsor 4 different wrestling promotions, as many of you know. And a lot of people are questioning me. They're like, why do you do that when you're a writer? Why are you, sponsoring wrestling promotions? Well, the truth behind that is, number one, my current book that I'm working on actually deals with a professional wrestler. But also, when I'm sponsoring these wrestling promotions, my name gets flashed up on the screens. My name gets promoted out to the audience. My banners are everywhere. My flyers are everywhere. So that's a whole new uh, audience that my name and face are being seen by. So I tend to go out of the box because I've been asked by a lot of people, why are you stepping out of the box with wrestling? Or why are you talking to musicians, blah, blah, blah. I tend to go out of the box and get away from just authors because that is not going to expand my reach. I want to expand my reach to everyone because maybe one of those wrestlers has a wife that loves romance novels, or maybe they have a sister, or even some men. I have some men fans out there. So even some men read my books. So the more exposure you're getting to your name, at least this is what I feel, the better off you're going to have with sales, or the more your name and brand is going to get seen. So don't just stick to authors and readers. Your goal as an author, in my opinion, is not to go where people are looking for you. You need to bring them to you and invite them into your world and entice them to come, to become a fan. And I just wanted to kind of uh, get some closure on that to make sure that I'm thinking in the right direction. So thank you for answering that, Billy.
I would totally agree with you on that. Now, there's limits to how much you can stretch that naturally. But absolutely, that is a great thing to do. And that's why being involved in numerous things, there's overlap. Like you, for example, fit the mental health as well as the authorship. And then I have other individuals who overlap into athletics, and overlap into coaching, overlap into other things besides what they do for a living. So all of these groups can raise your visibility everywhere. And there's absolutely no, like I said, everything has to be done. You have to make sure that you're not spending too much time doing that and being in the wrong place at the wrong time too much. However, I really like the strategy that what you're talking about there, because you never know when you're going to find a potential, listener. And in your case, I do think too, with authors staying with authors, podcasters staying with podcasters, and on down the line. When you do that too much, initially you will get a lot of response because of the fact that people in your group are going to be interested into what you're doing. But then you start to get diminishing returns because everybody who's interested in what you're doing has already found you. So you really have to go beyond that a little bit and find people who have coexisting needs, interests, and desires. And that's an excellent strategy.
Thank you so much. It helps to know that I am on the right track. So any words of encouragement or any input that anyone else has, I'm all for it. Thank you so much, Billy, for answering that. And Graciella, I know I've been talking so much, so I'm going to pass the mic over to you.
In all reality, this is some of the things I do as a coach. I see you laughing emoji. Like somebody questioning what you're doing on a wrestling match and why you are sponsoring it is none of their business, right? I mean, here's where a marketing script comes into play. And by script, I mean something that you formulate ahead of time and then you rehearse it. And then when somebody questions what you're doing, you have a scripted answer. I mean, you're a parent and your child is into wrestling, and you are there as a parent to support 100% your child. But as a writer and as a business owner, you might as well go ahead and market yourself if there's an avenue for you to sponsor your business or to put your business out there in this one event. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And now you are reaching this person with an answer that shows that you are a 100% supportive parent, which If they are, then now you've won their heart and they're instantly a fan. And even if they're not, I mean, who's not going to respect you for that, right? And then you're also coming off as the person who is the smart business person who will never miss an opportunity to put their business out there. Because in reality, where you market yourself or where you decide to put an ad out there for your business is your choice and it's your strategy. And if it works, then it works, right? So, all of that to say that some of these questions or comments that you may get every once in a while, I would definitely invite you to ponder some strategic answers already in your sleeve so that when this conversation comes up again, you're not caught off guard. Which, as a highly sensitive person, when you're caught off guard, now you're in fight or flight, now you're stressed, now you're not, in your most comfortable self. You may stumble and fumble your way through this conversation, and that just doesn't come across as the most professional way to communicate. But practicing a scripted response will always show that professionalism that leaves people like, oh my goodness, yeah, sure. Where can I find your books? Oh, well, then follow me on Twitter or whatever, right? And now you've gained a follower because now they believe in what you're doing because, that's where the confidence helps, right? When you do talk with confidence, it just shows and people feel that. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. And then what I wanted to say was before had to do with Ruth's comment about affiliate marketing. And I've done affiliate marketing for many years for different things. And I've also been a brand ambassador for many things as well in the 13 years I've been in social media. And I feel like they're two different things. So I wanted to talk about brand ambassadorship as opposed to affiliate marketing because, affiliate marketing may literally just be a link, a link that you have to push. I don't know if you've noticed, but I tend to talk a lot about Brain FM. And so that's one of my affiliate marketing things, right? So I give you a link for Brain FM, you get a free trial, you get a discount on your membership, and I get a very tiny, small, gift from promoting that link. And that's great. But when you become a brand ambassador, you may be on a contract. You may be making real money, not just having an affiliate link, but it's like a deeper relationship. And I think that we limit ourselves by thinking that making money through my writing is just me selling my books. And that's just not true. I can now, because I have a following, now because I have an online presence, now because I am on stage talking about this or that, now because I have my face on a whole arena where people are wrestling, I can now represent these brands because I stand for what they stand for, which in your case could be lupus awareness or lupus medication or whatever it is, like the things that you need, you could be a face for, right? Makeup, anything. And so when it comes to making money with your writing, I definitely want to encourage you, Kristy, and everyone listening to put together a media kit. And you can just go to Canva and search media kits, and it'll give you a ton of templates that you just fill in the blanks and put your pictures in. Because this is what you send to these brands to say, hey, my name is Kristy. These are my followers. These are the people that I speak to every single day. These are my statistics. These are my books. And in my real life, these are the things that I struggle with. And your brand appeals to me. Oh, most importantly, if it's a brand you've been using forever, like, Myers or something like that, like, I've been using your products for 10 years. And now that I have made a name for myself, I would love to build a relationship with you. And the thing is that we're never going to know if they're going to say yes unless we ask and we actually take that extra step of asking the question, would you like to be in a relationship with me? No. Okay, great. Well, then I'm moving on to my next person, right? Like your no is not going to define me and it's not going to stop me because I'm in the business of selling and I'm in the business of making money. And so, that's it. I'm very passionate about this. If you couldn't tell.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you are passionate about it. I actually do have a media kit. I just have not done anything with it in the last year. The last time I did anything with it was for podcast interviews. I was sending it out there to get some podcast. But now that you mentioned that, that's excellent ideas. And I think I'm going to update that media kit and actually try that. Thank you so much for that, Graciella.
Absolutely. And it may sorry, Ruth, hang on. It may reflect on your, what's the word? On your content, right? Because if you're going to represent a brand that has to do with you being a special needs parent, and then, you know, the things that you're promoting are things that you need to use with your children who have special needs, then of course you're going to start creating content around that. But I just feel like it's the sky is the limit with bringing businesses into your home for the things that you do daily, the same way that, you know, working from home is a plethora of content ideas that really focusing on, oh, I just want to talk about this one thing. It's just you limiting yourself. Whereas I can just talk about being a mom. I can talk about cleaning. I can talk about doing all the things because I'm home and there's so many things over here I could do with, right? So I would definitely encourage you to upgrade that and send it out everywhere. And
I
I'll
will.
send you
Thank
the
you so
bill
much.
for the coaching session. I'm kidding.
I will gladly pay you, Graciella. Ruth, please, we've been hogging the mic. Please come on back.
No worries. Thank you for the wisdom that you're sharing. I love the interaction that we have and that we can all contribute to the conversation and help people by doing that and bouncing ideas off each other and helping each other with questions that we have. So, Graciela mentioned that you might make more money as a brand ambassador, and that could be true. Affiliate marketing can be very lucrative if you help share information about high ticket items. Sometimes you can earn like $200 or $300 from one sale. So either way, those are both things that you can do to earn more money. And that leads us into our next question about what activity has brought you the most income as a writer. And for me, I would say there's two things that have brought me the most money. And selling books is not what has brought me the most income. Number one, my coaching has made way more money than I could ever make by selling books. And so my books are a big part of that, though. Most of the time, people connect with me because of my books and because of my writing and because of my content. So it's not like books are not important, but I see myself as a coach rather than as a writer. I do enjoy writing and but I enjoy helping other people write and other people achieve their goals more than I enjoy actually writing myself. And so it makes sense that I have made more money through my coaching than I have through my writing. Another way that I have made money and more money than selling my books is through speaking engagements. And again, I would not have those speaking engagements if I hadn't done my writing, because people get to know me and what I'm working on because of the books that I write. And it's actually kind of funny now that I think about it, because I wrote that book, Learn Twitter Spaces, last year to help other people that wanted to learn how to run Twitter Spaces. And I never did put it up on Amazon. I only used a link with a landing page, and several people, well, quite a few people actually, have taken advantage of the free copy that I provided. And then some people have gone on to purchase the course that I created from the content in the book. But because of that little book that I wrote, I was invited to speak at 2 writers' conferences. And so I earned from that book, I earned income in several ways. And I guess it depends whether you look at direct income or indirect income, as whether you say the money is from your books or from something else. Another way that a friend of mine has made a lot of money is from her books. She sees herself more as a writer, and she connected with a subscription box company. So this company sends out packages or boxes of books every month to their subscribers. And she was able to get her books into the subscription boxes, not physical copies of her book, but I'm not sure if it was a code or a link or how she did it. but people who received the subscription box received access to her book through that. And the subscription box goes out to 6,000 people at once. So instead of making one sale here or 10 sales there, she was making 6,000 sales at a time. So those are some ideas about gaining income as a writer. And I'm going to pass off to Kristy.
Well, thank you, Ruth. To be perfectly honest, right now, my only way of making income, besides my husband's income that comes in, is from selling books. But I find that the more I'm out there as a person, the more sales I get. And a lot of times it's not through Amazon, it's actually through the little online retailers, through I can't even talk tonight, good Lord, Draft to Digital, everything. But one of the ways that actually helped bring more sales to my books was when I had Graciella read A Christmas to Remember on her book club one night. I mean, and this is kind of a shock for me, and it wouldn't be for higher authors, authors that do better than I do. I mean, in one night, and that was the night that the book club ended, I sold 37 books that night. And it was a shock to me because Christmas to Remember was going kind of slow. It's more of a Christian based romance book. And I'm I don't get a lot of big sales with that. And that's a shame because I am a Christian woman. It's a shame that I don't get a lot of big sales on that. But that night at the end of book club, I don't know if it was because Graciella was able to capture the emotions from that book so well or what it was, but I sold 37 copies the end of book club that night. So that was a wonderful thing. So I'm thinking I'm going to move into Audible books. And I've talked to Graciella about reading A Christmas to Remember and me hiring her out to read that. So I'd like to talk to her more about that.
It was
Other way,
100% because of my reading. Yeah.
dang straight, because you did that book so well. You really captured the emotions, and I am so proud of you, and you made me very proud that night. So thank you for that. But another way is I'm just now starting to get into merchandising. There's a lot of things that are in my head, and I'm just now starting on that. So maybe Graciella can answer the question a little bit better than I can at this moment in time.
Honestly, I'm going to go back to copywriting and to writing in my content because I'm newly published. And I've been a published poet in several literary magazines since 2004, and I have never made any income from that. That was all really just like, hey, I'm in this literary magazine, and I'm in the, Library of Puerto Rico and all of these things, but never have made any money from it. These are all kind of collegiate pursuits because those magazines are created in the University of Puerto Rico. So I'm really just honored at this point that I'm about to be 38, no longer live in the island, and I still get published there all the time. And so that's wonderful. But still, it was never, it's been more of a, what's the word? All the other ways that we kind of reap the rewards that are not monetary, right? Which is also valid, and I'm so grateful, but we're talking about money. So I would definitely say that copywriting in my content is the one because it all turns into coaching sales, which is my main source of income. And now, little by little, building this community of people that bought my book and my agenda and are following along with it, right? Because if you buy an agenda, it's not just about buying the agenda, you actually have to use it. And so it's allowed me to have this group of people that are connecting with me at that level, right? They're interested in productivity, they're interested in manifestation, they're interested in really putting in the work to not just imagine what they want to create, but put it in writing, journal about it. How does it feel? Answer the questions and just watch it happen, because I've been doing it for years and it takes it takes time and effort, but everything I have ever wanted to come true has happened. And so that's my own testimony of, what I pray about, really, I am really blessed with it. And it's because I don't just pray about it, I put in the work for it, right? And so my book is really a guide for that. And so I definitely go back to my content 100%. And not just that, but I don't just have a conversion rate of from a post getting a client, which makes me feel so happy every single time somebody DMs me and says, I saw this post and I connected to it so much that I want to work with you. But I monetize my content. I get paid for those reels that I create. And that took 10 years for me to finally reach that point and to unlock that, right? And I have the subscription, which, by the way, Kristy, did you get your email yesterday? I sent you your subscription email yesterday. And so my subscribers get exclusive content every single month that nobody else gets. And this is a way of me monetizing. And so again, there's so many options out there. We block ourselves by saying, I want to sell my book and make money from that, where in reality, when you add every little thing that you can monetize from, it does add up. The question is, are you willing to put in the work? And that's the key. A lot of people are not willing to do that.
One more question, and then we will wrap up the discussion for tonight. Next week, we are going to be talking about why we write. And we're going to be going into detail about different reasons people write and how they can see that they're successful or accomplishing their goals. So the last question that we are going to chat about tonight is, what new marketing options are you considering in 2023? And Graciella has been talking about going outside the box. One of the projects I'm working on this year, and I probably won't see any income this year, but I am taking a screenwriting course because I am wanting to learn how to write for film. And that's another way that authors can get income, and it's not small income, especially if you not only do screenwriting, but you jump into the whole area of producing film. So that's an area I'm exploring this year. I'm also exploring Fireside and ideas to reach a broader audience there. I just had a conversation with Jen today from Fireside, and I'm excited to hear that they are going to be going onto Roku TV. So that is going to expand the audience potential. And I know that Graciella is also on Fireside. So I haven't sat down yet to make my Fireside strategy, but I am going to be doing that in the next few days. And I'm excited to see where that goes. Graciella, where are you venturing this year?
Pass it to Kristy and I'll come back.
Yes. One of the things that I'm trying to get going, it's a little complicated at the moment, is there's been interest for a local magazine of our local up and coming talent. So I'd like to put out a magazine and start selling subscriptions to that for our wrestlers, our writers, our actors, because we have a lot of really great people up and coming around the area that I'm in. Texas is a really big state full of lots of talented people, but I'd like to extend it outside of Texas too, because I know a lot of people online that are really becoming popular in their niche, I guess you could say it is. So we are working on trying to get a magazine up. We're trying on getting the podcast up and going, and eventually I plan on monetizing a way through that. And I plan on trying to get my business to where it's not just me writing or podcasting. I plan on doing promotion for other authors and basically a book service company for other up and coming authors or other talent. So kind of like a talent promotion agency is what we're working towards. Also, I've been asked to do a couple vendor booths over at some of the wrestling shows. So that's a big thing we're working on, as well as going throughout the state of Texas and hosting some talks and some book sales and stuff like that. So that's where we're going right now. And truthfully, I like Graciella's idea of being an affiliate ambassador for other places. I think I'm actually going to start checking into that. So I really love that idea. Thank you, Graciella.
Well, you're welcome. Just remember when you get your writer's award to say, I'm so grateful for Ruth and Graciella. No, I'm kidding.
Absolutely. I am grateful for you guys.
Oh my gosh. No, but for real, I loved and I want to say hello to Betsy and Rum who just joined us. We are about to close this conversation, so I definitely want to encourage you to listen back to it because we shared some great things about writing in general and monetizing and all of that. But one of the things I'm interested this year as a goal is definitely bringing my online presence, which is very consistent, very full-timey and all of that, to my local. Like Kristy was talking about a local magazine. Absolutely exploit that 100%. I'm very interested in speaking engagements locally. And the thing is that where we live, the most speaking engagements that happen are all church related, and my coaching is not church related. It's not limited to just members of my church. So I to speak about some of these things at the pulpit, if we want to call it that, it just doesn't really resonate. So to expand outside of that, that's one of my missions. And I've even been looking at some, I'm not sure if I should call them talent agencies or agents in general. As you know, I do a lot of entertainment aside from, my coaching and my content creation. And so entertainment in general is something I could be expanding into, hosting, like Ruth was mentioning. I'm actually going to be a co-host for 2 other shows on Fireside this year, which I'm excited about. And I had no idea that Roku was happening. So I'm excited about that, Ruth. Thanks for letting me know. But yeah, it's only the beginning of the year and there's a lot that can be done. And I'm excited for all of us, really. So thank you.
Thank you, ladies. We have had a very robust discussion. And yes, if you just joined us, welcome. I will do an overview of what we chatted about so that you can go back and listen and gain. And if you have questions about writing or marketing, feel free to DM us. We are available to share what we've learned. Not that we know it all, but we can definitely share what we've learned on our journeys. So we talked about some of the struggles that we face as authors in our marketing, what fears we have to overcome. And we said we needed to do it afraid and remember that failure isn't permanent unless we stop trying. Billy was with us and he shared that he uses Buffer to schedule his posts, and that helps take some of the pressure off. I use another app called Hootsuite, which is very similar. So there are ways that you can schedule ahead of time and not be thinking about content all the time. You can just enjoy interacting with people. We talked about the importance of community and the importance of being a leader and paying it forward and not always having your hand out expecting people to purchase your books or contribute to you. Working on networking and being there for other people as well. We also talked about, Graciella recommended that we practice a scripted marketing message or response that we can give to people when they ask us questions or challenge us. And she reminded us to keep our media kits updated so that when people are looking at our website or when we share our media kit with others, they are getting a current version of it so that they're not surprised when they see us face to face. And we also talked about different ways that we make money as authors other than selling books and what we are looking forward to this year. So, Kristy, do you have any closing remarks? And then Graciella, I'll let you share, and then we will wrap this up for tonight.
Absolutely, and thank you for passing the mic, Ruth, over to me. Basically, I just want to say everyone tonight was so full of wonderful information, and I really enjoyed the space. We were able to talk about a lot tonight. This was something I think we all really needed because as our business grows, so do we. But when we're growing, we don't always know which way to turn, and we don't always know if we're going in the right direction. So having other people kind of back us up and give us the encouragement we need is such a wonderful and important thing that we all really need to have in our community and our toolbox as an author. So thank you everyone for all of your help and all of your wonderful information. And thank you to our listeners for sitting here listening to us, going back and forth on the different ideas. Graciella.
Well, thank you so much for another great conversation. I totally want you to put it everywhere and let me know all the links so that I can share it as well, put it in my newsletter and share it with my clients and all of that. Everybody needs to hear this, I feel like, because everybody wants to do it, but they don't know what they don't know. And this is why having these types of conversations is so important, just to bring awareness to all the ways that things can be done. And then of course, thank you so much for having us. And yeah, oh, actually, this is why I was stalling, is because I forgot what I was going to say in the beginning, which is I'm about to hop into another space as a listener, which has to do with how to go viral on Twitter. And I'm very interested on the quote unquote recipe they're going to share. So if you're interested in that topic, then follow me there because I'm about to hop on that.
That sounds amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Graciella. Sometimes we're not aware of what's going on, but I'm thankful for the recordings we can always listen to afterwards. We are discussing maybe changing the time for this space. We are on every Wednesday and we have been on at 8 p.m. Eastern, but we may be switching to 9 p.m. Eastern. So I always pin the announcement for the space to the top of my feed on Twitter. So look for the information there. And thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, Graciella and Kristy, for sharing your wisdom, for having such great conversation with us. It's always interesting to see how the conversation just evolves. And Graciella and I had a conversation on wisdom, but it was very different from what we had tonight. So if you are on wisdom, I would encourage you to go listen to that recording, and we will try to make this available on my podcast and on YouTube as well. So watch for that. And thank you again to everyone that is in the space. And we will see you next week for a discussion on reasons to write. I look forward to seeing you then.